Hi, everybody. Welcome to the You've Got Leads 101 training session for today. I am Barry Mayer, and I will be your trainer and host for this call. We will get started here right on time at 1 o'clock Eastern and 10 a.m. for our West Coast friends. But if you have any questions, then please use the GoToWebinar control panel, and you can simply use the question feature there. Those questions will be recorded. I will try to get to them as we move through the training session. If there is a question that requires more one-to-one or some more detailed explanation, then certainly I am happy to provide that, and we can always connect after this call. You should be able to hear me and view my screen at this point. Also, I am recording this training session, so we can post this later, and you can revisit and reference all of it or any part of it to help reinforce your knowledge of the You've Got Leads program. So again, thank you very much for your YGL partnership and joining us on the training call. What we are looking at now is the You've Got Leads screen, basically, the you'vegotleads.com. And a lot of times users will sort of navigate towards the you'vegotleads.com page and then log in from here. And that's fine to do that. However, if you want to bookmark something, I would bookmark the login screen in this URL itself right here. So crm.you'vegotleads.com. Whether you use Google Chrome's browser or Internet Explorer or the Edge browser or something else like Safari, my suggestion is to bookmark that or bookmark this site to your favorites. That way you can quickly return to your login screen upon needing to log in every morning or whenever you're revisiting the You've Got Leads CRM. All right. So hopefully everybody can hear me and see my screen at this point, and we do have some other attendees showing up. Thank you very much and welcome. And I'm going to move my GoToWebinar control panel kind of out of the way here so you'll be sure to see the entire screen. All right, so just before we log in, I want to mention that if you are setting your password from the onset or you are resetting your password, as in you've forgotten it, those processes are the exact same. And all you do is access your login screen, find the forgot password link, and then put in your email address and send instructions. And what that will do is trigger an email to your inbox with a link in it that you can click upon, which prompts you to enter your new password and then reset. All right. If you have any questions about that or need any assistance, then certainly reach out to YGL support. And I'll share with you as well during this call how to reach out to us. And also after the call, I'll be sending you all a quick email just recapping and making sure you have the email for support, which is just support@you'vegotleads.com, and also the direct phone line. And that way you can reach out to us and submit tickets as needed. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get logged in. Okay, and that'll take us right to our dashboard here. So here we are at the You've Got Leads program. And what I like to do at the top of these calls is give everybody like the lay of the land or give you an overview of some of the overarching pages or sections within the system. And then as we move along, I can drill down into more specifics, so we kind of see the forest and then the trees, right? The navigational tabs here at the very top are part of the header, and those will remain constant as you move in and out the program and click on different links, right, and go to different sections or pages. And so this is pretty straightforward, even as a brand new user. I could probably guess correctly what is meant by leads. All right, well, I would click there to see all of the leads that I have and that I'm working with, correct? There's also tasks. So what happens when I click task search? Well, that takes me to a page that has a bunch of activities that I've scheduled for leads. Now the tasks, this is a section that will maintain all of the follow-up you have for leads and sources. Okay, so the activity that you're performing is bookended by the contacts the activity is associated with, leads and sources, right? And speaking of sources, here are all my professionals. These are folks that I'm working with that will provide leads to us, hopefully, right? So these aren't leads themselves. These are names of discharge planners and executive directors and other types of professionals at all of these companies, right? Okay. Now, let's go to inventory. So inventory is tracked in You've Got Leads if you prefer. And most of our You've Got Leads partners and clients have enabled or had us enable the inventory feature and module. And here is where you actually add units for your individual communities, right? And save those units along with their apartment types, the care level, the rate, and whether or not to include them in inventory within your community. Now, the report section, this is going to basically take care of itself as long as you have good data that's entered into YGL, right? And I think in the reports, it's no more obvious, right, or apparent than in reports of how good the data is and how comprehensive the data has been as users have entered new information into the system. Right, so that is why it's so critical, because if you are entering great lead data tasks, assigning sources, then these reports will basically take care of themselves and they'll provide meaningful metrics back to you. And we'll take a look at a couple of the most popular and generated reports within the program a little near the end of the call. So let's go back to our home screen. This is again our dashboard, and we will look at these items in particular, right? And walk through a quick summary of these in just a minute. But before we move away from the navigational header, I want to mention this part of your screen up at the upper right-hand corner there. And here I'm talking about notifications. This is where you would receive notifications for leads that are coming in across the web, whether that be from an elder care referral source network, such as a Place for Mom or a caring.com or a web lead form, perhaps. If you get leads from your website that are auto-populated, those notifications will come in here. And also there is a help link, and then you have a drop-down underneath your name. All right, so I did mention support and how to get support at the top of the call. So I'm going to click on help there. And here is where you can search topics, how to create, perhaps you might find how to create group tasks. Okay, there we go, how to create a new lead. So there are different ways that you can find different topics, I should say, regarding the common features functionality within You've Got Leads. Now, if you can't find what you're looking for, then I would click Contact Us and then include as much information as you can about yourself and about your community or parent organization. And then the body of how can we help you, this is where you describe what you're experiencing or perhaps pose your question to the support team. And then here I would definitely include a way to contact you. Yes, we will have some auto-generated email through the support ticket. However, it's great to have a direct phone number for you, perhaps. That way, if we need to pick up the phone and call you back or collaborate over the phone, we can do that. All right, so be diligent about providing the comprehensive contact information and how to reach you, and then simply click send here, and that will create a ticket number for your request that you can refer back to until your issue has been resolved or your question answered. All right, so use this help portal. It's a great way to reach out to support. So literally it's just help and then contact us, complete the form and submit. All right. And every one of those submissions is addressed, followed up with until we've connected and made sure that it's been resolved, right? And that's a good thing to know. The upper right-hand corner here also contains that welcome with these links. If I click account, certain members of our YGL partnerships and the users will have access to more tabs than others. So you may only see a few tabs here. If you're more of a corporate user or managed communities or an admin, you might have access to billing and all user information, all of the communities. But it will put you into your user information page here. Something I will mention is you can edit your email here. We get a lot of support requests that their email has been changed or they need to edit the email in some way, when in fact you can do that yourself through the user interface. Simply access your account page, go to user information, and here I could change my email if I needed to, right? Same thing with phone number, even your own name right here, right? Perhaps your last name has changed or something and you need to update that. And that can be done in user information. All right. So let's go back to dashboard and home and take a look at some of these items right from the dashboard. So You've Got Leads is laid out to help users be efficient in their day-to-day and address leads that are coming in and help them track and follow up with those leads, right, and sources. So one of the most important features of this dashboard, I think, is the upcoming appointments, and that gives you these appointments that you've scheduled at an actual specific start time and duration, right, in the program. Now, just before I talk a little bit more about that in detail, I want to mention the lead search field here at the very top. This makes sense to have here front and center as well, because you might need, and I'm sure you will need, to find leads quickly. So someone calls you out of the blue, right? And now you need to search, right? Just even by a first name or a last name. And here I would be able to click on any of these names to get to the lead details page right from the dashboard. And I do like in this program how now it will return search results based upon what you're typing into the field. Okay. The other fields here that you can search by in this lead search are last name, phone number, zip, email, and even the hot buttons from their lead details page. So if I chose email, I could start to type in an email here and see if it returns any results, right? Now, as I scroll down, I'll see the specific items that are some are more action-oriented or proactive, others are more for your information. I think the appointments, of course, would be a more action-oriented dashboard item because we want to follow up with these individuals and, of course, address these appointments or reschedule them perhaps. You can see that the little plus sign there in this link will open up further details, right, pertaining to this specific appointment. And I can just click those to collapse them, expand them. I can see the resident name if I click there, and I'll go ahead and do that. That takes me into that activity and right to that appointment. And I can also update that from here. I can review the lead details if needed, whatever the case may be. If I pop back to my home screen, that just takes me back to the appointment section here. Now I am able to edit this appointment from the dashboard, and you can pinpoint anytime you see the little pencil icon, that brings up the edit window here, okay? And if I needed to update the due date, for instance, I could move this to perhaps Thursday. Save it. So I have a lot going on tomorrow. So I might want to move some of these around. All right, get these off the screen. I'm going to reschedule this one to Saturday. Now you'll notice if I reschedule outside these 3 dates, it'll move it off of the screen. So perhaps we are going to delay this move-in to next week. And you can see that it gives you 3 categories here: today, tomorrow, and Thursday. And what that will say tomorrow is today, tomorrow, and Friday, and so on. So it's giving you a 3-day range. And that's just for upcoming appointments on the dashboard. Now, the difference between an upcoming appointment and a task in general is simply, I'll show you, it is, like for instance, this call here, this is a simple task and in your task snapshot there. And that is because I have this box checked. So it's an all day type task. If I wanted to make this an appointment or upcoming appointment, I would uncheck the box and there my time is not grayed out any longer. And so I could schedule this at a specific time, right? And duration. And then of course, choose the date. So now this call task is actually scheduled at a specific time. So if I promise to make this call at 1 p.m. on January 15th, then I would want to uncheck the box and set my actual time and duration here. Probably prioritize it as a high priority task. And this is a promised call, not just a call that I hope to get to. Now here I could track additional notes. And then save it. Okay. So I just saved that appointment. Now it won't show up here on my dashboard because I scheduled it outside the 3 existing dates, right? Today, tomorrow, and the next day. But that gives you a better idea of what distinguishes a task activity from an all-day type task versus an appointment type task, right? And it makes sense. Appointments are more in line with tours or perhaps an event, or maybe someone's coming to meet you. Maybe it's a call that you scheduled that's on your calendar and that kind of thing. Now, latest leads, I think, is along with these other 2, it's the third most important item, at least in my mind. Certainly others may feel differently, but I think latest leads is extremely important and a great dashboard item to have because it's showing you all of the most recent inquiries that have inquired with your community, right? There's not much that's more important than the most recent leads and families that are interested in perhaps moving in. Right? And it looks like support was adding some testing leads. That's what that's all about. But we can look at these other names here, and this is more in line with what you would see within your community account for You've Got Leads. And again, anytime you see text that's underlined within the program, that is a link to further information. And here is a link to their task page. So you can imagine if I clicked on the name Jerry, and that'll take me to the lead details. Here is where I can see all of the details for this lead record. I can expand all of the sections. So I have inquiry details at the very top. There's the primary contact information. Looks like Jerry is the son of the resident. Okay. In just a few minutes here, I will walk through the steps of creating a brand new lead in this program. So we'll see how these types of lead details and lead profiles are created. Now, resident details. This is the name of the person that actually would be moving in, hopefully, to our community. And then, of course, underneath the resident details, you have personal details and health status. Okay. And then living preferences, financial information, and additional contacts. The first additional contact beyond the primary and the potential resident/resident is called the secondary contact. Okay. Any and all contacts beyond primary, resident, and secondary are simply additional contacts. Now you'll notice there are save buttons here on every section. This will save the entire page. Okay. So if I update the address here, right, in some way, and then I scroll down and I update the time frame, right? And any other fields, and I click save right here, then that actually saves the entire screen. So just to let you know, you don't have to try to remember what you've changed or go back to other sections and save them individually. It actually will save the entire page when you click any of those green buttons, and you can see it save that. Okay. Now, some users will have access to delete leads. Other companies have that disabled. So that's basically up to the organization and your configurations. We don't encourage deleting leads. Normally, we would encourage you to close the lead if they are not qualified for your community. But if your organization allows you to delete a lead, then that is found here directly to the right of the save button. Save and delete there, okay? And also the notes are found here on the lead details, as well as the activity and all of the tasks, right, associated with this lead record. Now going back to the home screen, we've talked a little bit about appointments, the leads that are coming in. Now this section will auto-populate with the sources that are integrated with your You've Got Leads account, so you'll see those as they come in as well. And also, this is where you would see leads that you've entered yourself. So if you entered a lead manually into the program, it's all based upon how recently they were added to the system. And then if I scroll down further, even on my dashboard, I can see that I have tasks here, and I'm a little behind, so I probably want to get caught up. If I click the radio button, that actually will allow me to complete a task from here. I can see done is yes automatically when I click that circle, and I could click save, and that completes the task. Now, if it is an open lead, it will prompt me to enter my next step, which I think is wonderful because I don't even have to go anywhere else. But beyond this dashboard, complete a task and activity associated with a lead, and then enter my next one. So perhaps the next logical step for this lead was a phone call, right? Phone call to contact. And I'm going to set the due date a week out, and I'll leave that box checked. It is an all-day type task. I just want to perform the phone call on that day. I did not specify a specific time and duration for the call. So now it's a priority. I could say maybe it's a high priority. It's done. No, because this is a task that is scheduled that is still open or for the future, right? Then track my notes here and then save it. And that'll be saved. And I could move to my next one. And now you can see how you could start to get some things done. Maybe I know all about this lead. I don't need to access their details. If I did, I could do that. You can see the text is blue. That's a link to Bill's lead details page. So if I did click there, then it puts me right into the details and the activity as well. I could complete this from here. You can see there's a lot of similarities between the workflow and the different sections in the pages. So I click the radio button, that completes it right from this screen. And it will require a next step since this lead is still open. So I simply click New Task, and I create my new task. For this tour, I'm going to uncheck the all-day task box. That allows me to schedule it at a specific start time and duration. And we'll save that. And we can see that removes the stop sign. I can move forward and browse away from this activity screen. So there are ways and methods you can use the dashboard to your advantage to quickly get caught up or complete red tasks, for instance. and review the most recent inquiries that have come in to your account. The sales pipeline feature, this is a quick way to filter leads by what sales phase they are in. So you can imagine if I click no contact made or pre-tour, post-tour, that'll take me to my leads section. So I'll go ahead and do that and show you having filtered by sales phase post-tour. Right? And I have a key metrics graph here, helps me to spot some seasonality perhaps. I can look at the last trending a couple of years along with this year and how many inquiries have come in month over month. Perhaps I want to look at my own community here, right? It's just a nice snapshot. Maybe I want to see tours. So how many tours have we given in relation to the last couple of years? Now we're just starting in the calendar year, so that's your green dot for January 2019. Okay. Source performance, I like this section here. Just gives you a quick snapshot of who's performing for you as far as sources and how many leads have come in. The projected occupancy is based upon the number of units that you have entered into. You've got leads, and also the move-ins you've created for each unit. We'll take a look at that in updating occupancy here after we add a lead. Projected occupancy will show you that over the next 3 months, 6 months out, based upon pending move-ins and move-outs. Okay. And then there are a couple of other items here, the top leads and the quick stats, but all of these items are fairly self-explanatory. I will mention this lead or this section here. To categorize a lead as a quote top lead, you simply star it. So you star it to the left of their name. And I just think that's a great way to call out those really hot leads or the ones that you definitely want to pinpoint as families that you'll maintain contact with, at least for right now. And any and all of these dashboard items can be moved around. So you might say, you know what, I want to see my latest leads at the very top, and then I want to see my tasks in general, and then appointments. Whatever you want to do, you can highlight these or you can toggle them on or off. So any of these dashboard cards or items can be reordered or toggled on or off. So I could do that. If I wanted to narrow my focus, right, or include the latest leads at the top. Okay, so by now, I think we have a good idea of how the system is laid out, just in general, a high-level overview. And what I want to do next is get into some more specifics and actually create a lead. We will create a lead, we will assign a source, and then we will follow up with a task. So we've been successful at logging in, right? So that's good. We've gained access to our account. Now we have a few records, leads, inquiries, whatever you want to call them, to enter into You've Got Leads. How do we do that? So from wherever you are, you may still be at the dashboard. What you want to do is click Add Lead. So I'll go ahead and click Add Lead, and that brings up the Create a New Lead screen. Okay, there it is. Vista Ridge of Seattle. This is the community that we are in, and now we have inquiry details. We can see primary contact and then some resident information. But we won't worry about this stuff below inquiry details quite yet. We just want to take it one section at a time. I look at this Create a New Lead page as simply a guide to get you started with creating a comprehensive lead record within the program. Inquiry details, inquiry date. Now that's going to default to today's date, but I can certainly backdate that if I needed to, if I were including the inquiry or entering the inquiry into my account a couple of days later. For our purposes, we'll leave it to today. Lead status, A, B, or C, might read hot, warm, or cold within your account, or even have more options than just 3. and it stands for kind of the lead temperature, like hot, warm, and cold. Inquiry method, this is how they chose to reach out to you. It is not the comprehensive lead source, it's just the method they chose to contact you, such as did they pick up the phone and call the community, call the corporate office, was it a chat, did they email you or something, right? And now that we have these simple drop downs completed, we want to think about, well, where did the lead truly come from? So what is the comprehensive source of this lead? Now, the way the sources assignment work in You've Got Leads is, as a user, I can click in this field and search all sources within my account. So I may, let's see, I may want to search a name Gary, for instance. And I see that, okay, this is a person that works at a rehab center or is part of a home health that is local to my region. And that's where the lead came from. And I could quickly assign that source just like that. Okay, so hopefully everybody on the call caught that. And I do have a question, and that is how to enter a source. And yes, you can enter a source, and thank you for that. And I'll walk you through that even right now. So sometimes you'll be entering a lead and they come from a source that is not in YGL at this point or yet. So what do? Well, let's get Gary out of there, right? And in my account, lead source is required. Do I back out of here and then go add the source over here while I'm adding the lead, or interrupt my workflow? And in fact, I actually don't have to do that. I can add the source from scratch while I'm adding the lead. So I know we haven't tracked too much information about the lead, but it's nice to be able to continue to work and push forward in a straight, linear, logical fashion, right? So the next step, if I needed to add a brand new source, would be to click the plus sign here at the end of this row. And that brings up source management. And I can see the overarching categories, the top categories that I have associated with sources. And if you've been in You've Got Leads at all, you may have seen this already, but these are universal and they're in everybody's account. Okay, it's the sub-sources that could potentially change. Now, to be comprehensive, I'm not just going to add drive-by or family or friend or something to the lead itself. What I want to do is create a source. So I'm going to click 20 sub-sources beside professional, and that will bring up all of the sub-sources under professional, such as adult day center, agency, independent living, nursing homes, senior apartments, right? Now you can imagine that nursing home or hospital would have a lot of sub-sources underneath that category. So it will drill down into further specifics. So I'm going to click on hospital. I think it's probably a pretty common lead source for communities in senior living. And here we have all of the existing individuals from the different hospitals that are local to us. And in our accounts, we will see these because they've referred leads to us at some point in the past. But again, I'm not going to choose an existing source. What I want to do is add a brand new source. So as a new user, what would I do next, right? So I've clicked the plus sign. I brought up my source management. I've chosen professional. I've chosen hospital. I can see my breadcrumbs right there. The next step would be to click add new source. And that brings up our source details window. Now here it's going to default to the category that I've already chosen. I could change that on the fly if I wanted to or needed to. But I'm going to leave it as hospital here. And of course, I would need to be able to add the specific name of the hospital, the organization. Now, something to note is it will have independent or the word independent there by default. And it maybe looks like you can't change that, but you can. I could click the X here, or I could just start typing right over it. So as a user, this is editable field. You can type whatever text you need to for the org name. I'm going to go ahead and add a new hospital name there. Now you can see it's West Penn Hospital, and I'm going to go ahead and type in the name. And there is a checkbox if I needed to use this address multiple times for different individuals at this company or organization. Then you can imagine you may not want to enter that every time, right? I'll go ahead and enter some information here. I'll try to be quick about it. And then once I've entered my source details as comprehensively as I can, I will save it. And that'll create the source, right, in my list. And I said it's in alphabetical order. So I would just simply find the source here and then add them, go ahead and add them to the list. But here she is, Dr. Meredith Benson, and add to lead. So there is an example of creating a source from scratch while you're creating a brand new lead. Right, so now we've assigned our new source, and we can move forward and track the primary contact information. Let's see, I'm just thinking up some names here. And it's important to track the relation. So if you're actually entering the resident's name, then don't skip primary contact and just put it in here. So for instance, if the person was searching for themselves and they're making a move, then you would fill out the primary contact and choose self. Okay, and that will auto-populate the information below. And we said Tolly was the daughter, so we're going to enter the resident's name here. And then, of course, if we had this information, we would include that as well. But I think this type of info is pretty self-explanatory, and I won't bore you and take up time by completing every one of these fields. Of course, if we're entering this information in real life, we want to be as comprehensive as possible. You may want to copy and paste notes into the notes section here when you're initially recording the lead. You can, of course, type up your notes here in the details as well. And then once I've entered all this as best I can, then I click create, and that will create the lead in the system, having assigned the source. All right. And then we can see the inquiry details here, primary contact, resident details, and this information is good to track, of course. Anytime you have a calendar, you can click the header so you can back out or zoom out, right? Oops. That way you can quickly pinpoint a date versus scrolling. And we would track all of this information as best we can. Some of these fields are searchable in the Leads tab, and we can filter by them later. Right, so if I wanted to, for instance, see all of the leads that I have recorded in my account that are interested in assisted living, then I would have needed to have tracked that information, right, to return a comprehensive and accurate list. And I'm going ahead and tracking some of this information just so you can see how quickly you can move through these pages and sections and then save it. You don't have to put in any secondary contacts. If there are other family members and friends, that's where you would include that information. But now we've tracked as much as we can about the lead details. And we may think, okay, well, we've entered the lead, now we're done. Well, not necessarily. We really want to be tracking the activity and what we've performed with the lead thus far. And so we would go over to the leads activity page right here and enter the new task. So we would enter our tasks that we've already performed and what we're going to do next. So the type here could be call. So initial consultation with the family. Let's see, we performed that on today. I'm going to leave it as an all-day task. And I'm going to say this is done. It's complete. There's made contact there, yes, no, or left message. So we're going to say, yes, we made contact. Going to add a title for the note. Okay. Then once we have tracked that information, we can save it. Now that's going to save the task, right? And we still aren't done, but if we did try to browse away from this page, you can see it's going to stop me. And that is because this is an open lead. It's in the pre-tour sales phase, and I need to enter a next step, right? So entering your next step or a task that's not completed yet for the future is exactly the same process, except we don't complete it, as entering a task that we've already done. And that is performed by clicking New Task, choosing your task type. And in this case, it will be a tour. And we can assign it to one of our marketing directors if we're not going to perform the tour ourselves. And we can schedule this for perhaps tomorrow. I will uncheck the all-day task box because this is a more significant task than just an email or a call. I'm going to be meeting this person and walking them around the facility and the community, so I'm going to schedule this at a specific time. I said they'd be there a little before 4 o'clock. Set that time. Might take an hour, high priority. Done, no, because this is for the future, and then click Save. So now we are able to move forward and go perform other activities, tasks, and work within YGL. So we've tracked as much as we can about this lead. We've assigned the source. We've tracked what we've done this far by entering our new tasks and completing the ones that we've have performed already, and then entering the next step and any notes that are relevant as well. All right. So now perhaps we go to our leads section of the program. So here's where all of the records that you have entered or have been entered for you, perhaps auto-populated, these are where all of those leads are maintained. The default filter when you access your leads for the first time will be move-in status open. So even as a brand new user, the very first time and then subsequent logins, you will see move-in status open. Okay. So if you're wondering, how would I see all of the leads that are closed or perhaps moved in? Well, you could certainly search those, but first you'd want to get rid of the move-in status open. And I could just click X and that removes that filter. So whenever you're in tasks or leads, you'll see your total number of records here, and then you see the applied filters here. Okay. Now I am just going to take a minute here and get rid of these test leads just to clean this up a bit. And then we'll talk about the occupancy type tasking. I think that's important. So how do you move in a lead, perhaps move out a lead, and then closing a lead out? So that was just test data. That's why I deleted those. But for the most part, we don't want to be deleting a lead. So don't delete leads, but do close them and track the reason why. But so here are all the records that I have, right, at the Vista Ridge of Seattle because I've applied 0 filters. Now, perhaps I want to go back to a move-in status of open. So I pop out my filters on the left, find move-in status underneath sales activity, choose open, and now I have 498 records here showing. All right. I can search by lead status. Maybe I want to look at all open leads that are A leads. Maybe I want to look at all open A leads that are assigned to this specific user. So now I've chosen 3 filters. Now, if I collapse that, how do I know which filters that I've picked? Well, they're all right here in these filter bubbles showing at the top. So I've applied 3 filters, move-in status open, lead status A, and this user here owns these leads. Okay. Now, before we do any occupancy type tasking, I want to mention these 2 icons at the bottom right, the @ symbol and the mailing labels. If I click on the @ symbol, that signifies an email group task. And here I want to specify the regarding, so invite to open house or something. Oops. And here I could add the group task, and that will create and complete an email for all of these individuals, right? So there is that ability to update multiple lead records at once with the completed email task. Now, of course, I would still need to perform the email blast or the mass email outside the system. Okay, and the way you do that is you export your list to Excel, and it provides that list in a nicely formatted Excel sheet or recipients list, which you can use with your I guess, email campaign or marketing type software like a MailChimp or Constant Contact, or even Microsoft Word if you were performing an email merge or mail merge, because you have the first and last name and the email and the address here. Okay. So all I did was export this list to Excel. For mailing labels, you just click the envelope, choose the label that you want, and choose my parameters, and then click export. And that creates a nice mailing labels list. Now, if you want to get back to just open leads, you can quickly do that by just Xing out of these certain filters. So that's a little bit about filtering. Hopefully this will be pretty straightforward for you, but I would explore these filters here in the purple slide out, and each one of them contains a drop down, as you can see. So I can look at my list of leads in different ways. And the more you familiarize yourself with these filters, the more efficient you'll become and have the ability to then pull the lists that you need. So let's drill into a lead details. I just clicked on the name. I'm going to activity, and perhaps this lead is moved in. Now I'm going to complete that, but I really don't want to. I'm going to delete that task. And now I'm going to enter a move-in task. And I just click New Task. And you can see all of your lead tasks here. Choose Move In. It's not required to include any details in this field. It's just there if I need to. And the due date, the move-in date, perhaps they moved in yesterday. Certainly you could uncheck this box if you had scheduled it at a specific time and duration. Now certain tasks, I'm going to complete this move-in. Certain tasks like occupancy tasking require a bit more details to be tracked, right? A simple phone call is just completing the task or scheduling it and tracking your notes. A move-in is much more significant than that, especially if you've enabled the inventory feature and you're tracking your units within YGL. So here I can see all of the units, right, and all the ones that are occupied in my drop-down list. And yes, you can choose a unit that's occupied. The system understands that, like for instance, unit 10 here, if you needed to choose that specific apartment, perhaps will be vacant by the time this lead moves in, right? And then I just include the number of people per unit. What's the occupancy type, care type? Is it a respite stay, yes or no? The payer source. And then, of course, any notes that I may need to track. Once I have included all of the necessary fields, then I can save my move-in task. Right? And there I have a lead that is moved in. So that's how you do it. If you are updating an inventory, so if you've added units to your account and you need to move residents in, then you would search your database if you have lead records in your YGL and see if you can find the person. If you can find them, access their activities page, create the new task, choose move in and save it, and complete the details. Now, if you did not have the record yet within You've Got Leads and you need to move this resident in, so they're a current resident, but you don't have the record within your YGL, then you would add the lead. So you would add the lead with whatever information you need in there, and then you would simply create the move-in task once you've created and saved the lead. So that's how that works. That's how information like inventory report is populated with data, right? Now let's say you needed to move this person out. So what you don't do is click on the move-in task. So that's something that will stay there, and it's part of the history of this lead record. What you do is click on New Task and choose Move Out. Right? Just like you chose Move In, you choose Move Out. And you choose the date that they will be moved out, and perhaps we'll choose today, and we're going to complete it. It will auto-fill or populate these fields, right, that we completed during the move-in task and that occupancy tasking. Right, so hopefully that doesn't need to change. If they were transferring or something, there is a transfer task right here. Right, so if they were transferring, it's going to give you the details in the fields of where they're transferring from, right, and where they're transferring to. So pretty straightforward. Now in this instance, we are going to move this person out, however. So everything looks good there, except we may want to track a move out reason. Needs higher level of care. and there is a checkbox if you want to close the lead. This is a move out. A move out is not necessarily a closed lead. Okay, just because there may be an instance where you move a family out or a person out and they may come back to you. So you don't want to completely close the lead. I'm not talking about deleting a lead. I'm just talking about putting him in a closed state within YGL. Now, if you did want to close the lead, so if they're moved out and you're certain that they're not coming back and moving in again, then I would check that box. And then I would be automatically given the fields to track the reason, right? The reason I'm closing it. And then delete all unfinished tasks. I know that may seem superfluous. However, there are times when a lead record might have 2 or 3 other tasks that are incomplete. So it's nice to be able to just finish those because you're closing the lead out. So now I'm going to save this. So a lot was going on there, right? I moved the lead out and it automatically completed and saved the close lost lead task for me. Now, if you neglected to close a lead when you moved them out or wanted to close them later, I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to delete that closed lead. So I just moved the lead out. Why is it requiring a next step? That's a popular question. Well, again, a move out lead is not necessarily closed until you actually close them. This lead is now in a move out status. However, it's still open because what this is telling you and everybody is that they potentially could come back. But let's say they aren't coming back. So we would just choose our new task and we could choose closed from here in the drop down. Right? If we did not check that box upon moving them out. So here we will track the reason and the destination, save it, and once again we have our closed lost lead, right? So now that removes the stop sign, we can certainly browse away. There are always 3 ways you can remove the stop sign, and that is create a task for the future that's incomplete, move the lead in and complete the move-in task, or complete a closed lost lead task. All right, so let's talk a little bit about tasks within the program, and then we'll move quickly through sources, inventory. I have a short video that we created for new users and even existing users. I'll share that with you in follow-up, and that way we don't make this training session too lengthy. I know that if you're like me, once it reaches about an hour, then my brain is like, okay, that's enough information on one topic for now. I can learn the rest later, but I know we want to be as comprehensive as we can be. So we need to go through some task stuff. And if you have any questions, by all means, let me know. So the tasks themselves are defaulting to all of your incomplete tasks. So similar to the way the program will reflect all open leads in the lead section, here if you go to tasks, it's going to have task status incomplete. So if you wanted to get rid of that, certainly you could, and that would just be showing you every single task, whether it's been completed or not completed, right, that you have in the program. And there's a lot of them here. If you're a brand new user and a new account, you probably won't have thousands of tasks, but eventually you very well might. And the filters slide out just like leads. And here I can see the different categories. And you can see, okay, I have 8,000 some tasks associated with lead contacts and a few hundred for source contacts. So remember, again, the source tasks and lead tasks are all maintained in one tasks search section. Right? So if I wanted to just review lead tasks, I could check that box. And here's my task status. So I kind of leapfrog the contact status and the priority, and I want to get back to all my incomplete. So it makes sense that I might not be so focused unless I'm looking for one specific activity or event. It would make sense that I'm focused on my incomplete tasks, stuff that I have to do. I've got to get these done. So I can go back and check that box. There's priority here. I could look at all my high priority tasks. But you can see as I check these filter boxes, I can see the applied filters over here on the right or at the top. So now I'm looking at lead contact tasks, meaning I'm excluding the follow-up to sources, all the ones that are incomplete, and high priority. And I can see that there are some red tasks right here. So I want to make sure that I follow up with these, of course, because these are all high priority tasks. And again, I could click the radio button. It brings up the details. All right. Click save. If I just want to complete this task, I can do that. And then once I click save, it's going to complete the task and it'll actually prompt me to enter the next step if there are no next steps associated with the lead itself. All right. I could go to my next one here, save it. Now that task required a next step because there was no incomplete task for the future. So now I'm going to schedule that. And I'll just move quickly here. I'm not going to complete all of these for the sake of time. But I also want to show you one other cool thing. The single and multiple drop down here at the bottom allows you to reschedule multiple tasks at once. For instance, if I wanted to reschedule all of these, I don't want to delete them or anything. I don't have time to complete them right now, but I want to batch update their date. So perhaps I'll say, give me all those red tasks. I'm going to reschedule them for Friday. I know I have some time. And so I will complete these on Friday, and there was approximately 8 or so of them. And now I can focus on the other things that I have to do. Now, again, if I just wanted to get back to my tasks, all of them that are incomplete, and I could get rid of the high priority, I could get rid of the specific to a lead contact. And here are all the tasks that I have. Certainly, you can export your tasks and their contact and the information about them to Excel if you need to. And again, any text that's in blue is a link to further information. So if I click on call, then it's going to take me right to the activities page specific to this lead. The task calendar, pretty self-explanatory. It will default to incomplete tasks showing only. If I wanted to show everything I've completed, just get that out of there. Let's see. So then you'd have some green stuff on your screen that's showing you that those are complete, right? Now, anytime you want to move these around, you can do that. Maybe I want to drag and drop this over to Friday. Certainly that's doable. I could move this one to tomorrow. But a lot of users prefer to work off of the calendar. And this is today's date, so there are all the tasks that are due today. If I want to jump back to yesterday, I can see these red tasks here. I could drill into those and complete them. If I click on the task, it takes me right to the activities page here. Okay, so if you guys have any questions on tasking or the task calendar, just let me know. happy to answer those. This sources section, it's laid out just a little bit differently than leads and tasks, and mainly if you're wondering why, it's because there aren't nearly as many filters at this time for sources. So we can reasonably include just a filter form here at the very top. If you said, I want to see how can I look at all the hospital type sources? Well, that's pretty easy. You could go to subcategory, choose hospital, and then it will search all of the hospitals that you work with and their contacts. But perhaps you want to look at, a contact in general, or specifically, I should say. And I could look at all the contacts I have from West Penn Hospital, and there is the lead source that we added today, in fact. And if I drill into their details, I can see these details here. Number of referrals, of course, that's one because that's the only lead that we've assigned this source to. And if you are wondering, well, how do source tasks get in the program? Well, just the same as leads, you have activities pages for sources. And here I can enter a new task and follow up, right? I can save this one. And then enter a next step for this source. So it's pretty simple. You're just tracking the contacts for leads and sources and then following up with them, right? And that's how it's done. Now, sources have the export to Excel, and also for sources, you can create labels and you can track your group tasks. So if you exported all of your source contacts and you sent them a mass email, then you can do that here, right? And then add the group task. Just remember to specify what the group task is in the regarding. And we are able to delete group tasks through support. We just need to know what the date is that you scheduled the group task and your information, but that is possible if you were wondering. Now, inventory, I won't take up the time and give you too much information today on the call. I will be sending you a quick video on that. It's 5 minutes, and it shows you how to enter units within the program. It's really simple. You just click these buttons here. But I think that is appropriate, and other users have advised, yes, that's desired, just to have that resource and a quick short tutorial on how to do this. That way I can review the information at my leisure, when I can focus on it, and when I'm ready. And then if you are adding units and you have any question about that, just click on help and you can reach out to us. And again, the report section, this is going to take care of itself, honestly, guys, if you are entering good data. And then I would review each one of these reports, see what it's providing to you, what makes sense to you, what is important. I think a lot of times users are using the task report completed. Perhaps you want to see all the tasks that were completed since the beginning of December until now, and you want to look at a specific task type, perhaps all tours from a start date of December to today for a specific user, and then click Run Report, and there you go. Or you might want to see all tours for all users over the last, over a month here. And then it gives you a nice task report completed. I like this because it's giving you a lot of information in one table, and you can also look at all tasks that are completed in any arbitrary date range. And you can export that to Excel, PDF, you can work them one at a time, whatever the case may be, and this is available for task report incomplete as well. Now, certainly you can look at tasks that are incomplete and complete from your task search, but at times I know that users have told me that it's nice to have these simple parameters here, and then I can drill down into whatever task I'm looking for if I have time to make a call or something. Maybe I want to see all the incomplete tasks that I have due today and then run the report. So here we go. And then, of course, these are links to the lead details. but that's just an example. And if I did export that to something like a PDF, you can see what that looks like in your PDF. And this is the way all reports look in the PDF. It basically tries to duplicate how they look in You've Got Leads as closely as possible. And then you have an export to Excel for reports as well. Okay. All right. Well, I really appreciate you guys sticking with me throughout the more than an hour here. I try to wrap up before it goes longer than an hour and 15 minutes, just because I do feel that it's a lot of information to take in one sitting. But I will be following up with you and including the recorded session so you can go back and reference any of this material and review it on your own time. But we certainly appreciate your YGL partnership and reach out to us with any and all other questions pertaining to the program. So thanks again. Have a great rest of your week. Have a great Tuesday. And if you need to, you can always revisit the training at the training link here underneath your name. So when you click there, it just takes you right to the schedule for the upcoming live training sessions. All right. All right. Well, thank you very much. Reach out to us with any questions, and I wish you all the best within the program. We'll talk to you soon.